Great. Good morning, everyone. Welcome, welcome. I appreciate all those who can, show me your faces if it's comfortable. Hi.
Hi, good morning.
Hi. Carmen, Kirk, Cassie. Hi, Lisa.
Okay, I'm just going to share my screen now. I'm going to pull the slides up.
Okay.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. So good morning. My name is Shifra Stern. I'm very excited to be, I like to use the word teaching, but I really want to be a student as well, because it's been about 5 years since I'm an agent, and I still very much want to learn and grow myself. So I really appreciate the opportunity to teach and be a student along with you to review our topic today, which is buyer consultations. It helps reignite my own goals and reassess how I'm working with buyers. So thank you for that. A little bit about myself. I mentioned I'm doing real estate since 2017. I actually started off as an admin working for another agent. And at some point, I recognized that I can, do this on my own, and got into training and learning. And now I'm working with buyers and sellers and enjoying the process. So I'm looking forward to sharing on the topic buyer consultations. Does anyone, well, can I see everyone? We have 7 participants. Just to kind of gather where everyone is everyone a new agent? Like, how many of you are new? Okay, great. And anyone already working with buyers and have done buyer consults? Awesome. Okay. Anyone a seasoned agent, like who've done this a few times? Okay, so just to know where we're at. Okay. So would anyone like to share so far what, how Ignite has impacted them and what they're learning so far and what they want to implement? Okay, no problem. Moving along. Our focus is on the buyer consult, how to get a signed buyer representation agreement, which is the first step to closing with a buyer and ultimately getting to the closing table. I think I'm ready for the next slide. Okay, so what successful agents do every single day? We're growing our business with lead generating for buyers and sellers, and I'm sure this has been touched on in other sessions and other classes. We are making seller listing presentations to get listings and then list them. And we're making buyer presentations, and through buyer presentations, actually, we get listings as well. We're previewing real estate, and then the actual day-to-day running of our business. We're marketing our seller listings. We're showing buyers houses, negotiating contracts, transaction management to closing, vendor management, set goals, compliance, risk management. We're attending trainings, of course, and getting coaching, and we're managing our money. Okay, anyone feel like sharing why is it important to get a buyer representation agreement?
So you can get a commission?
You can get a commission. Okay, yes. How does that help us get a commission?
It's signed by the, in agreement by the buyer.
Okay. So in other words, getting the agreement from the buyer means we're more likely to get our commission paid?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's actually very, very accurate. Without a signed buyer representation agreement, we run the risk, and I've done it, and I'm always looking to improve in that, is spending our valuable time, and our time is precious. We have a lot to give, to people, and we want to make sure we're spending it with people who are actually going to take us on their journey to the closing table. I don't think, though, there's any agent out there who hasn't had that experience of spending time with buyers who, you know, just didn't realize that we don't get paid till the closing table, and may have gone with another agent into a contract. So to avoid that, best practice is to get this buyer representation agreement. Has anyone seen the buyer representation agreement, or buyer exclusive agreement, I think it's called? Everyone's seen that? So you're familiarized with the language, what's in there. And if you haven't, I welcome you to take a look in DocuSign, or wherever you access your documents, to just preview that and take a look. Okay, next slide, please, Kelly. Okay, so setting the appointment. If you feel free to look at page, I believe it's page 5 on your own manual. So the goals of a buyer consultation appointment, what are they? So the buyer consultation is an opportunity to establish a long-term relationship with a buyer. During the appointment, our goals are to first discover the needs, the wants, what is important to the buyer. Okay. Second, it's to deliver our value proposition as an agent, what we bring to the table, why they should choose working with us. And then set expectations for how we will work together so that we can find them their home. And finally, as we said, the goal is ultimately to get the signed buyer representation agreement. Has anyone worked on their value proposition? I think that was in a different class, possibly. So that's important in case, and actually at me going in, I'll just reveal, being open with where I'm at. I'm a few years doing this. I sat down with my coach just recently to review my value proposition, just to make sure I'm on track. Because when in the beginning, it was different than now when I have some clients and how I've serviced them. So I'm able to take a look at that. So I encourage all of you to take advantage of that. I also just want to add, I like to hear during this conversation with the buyers, during this appointment, how much they know about the buying process. This will help me help them. I like to inform my buyers. That's my personal take, that I believe an informed buyer, an informed consumer is very valuable. And some don't know what happens next. Some are informed, some are misinformed, and that is part of the value proposition, when I can be a source for them and a resource, and educating them every step of the way. So what are some of the things from you guys that you feel you would need to prepare for a meeting with a buyer to help with these goals that we just talked about? Any interaction? I love hearing from you guys. Okay, no problem. So if I prepare, I'll show you what I prepare, unless someone wants to chime in. I prepare, I like to take notes. So I always have a way to take notes, whether it's a notebook or I'm, not always am I using the computer, because I don't want to be busy when I'm face to face with a buyer. I don't want to always be on my laptop running. Sometimes I take notes on my phone. I'm preparing the buyer representation agreement. Okay. And we're going to learn soon about some other material that we can bring with to the meeting. Okay. We can go to the next slide. Oh, someone's saying something. I like to use the listing presentation templates that are in command, and then I alter it for the buyer to make it. Thank you, Cassie. Are you referring to the buyer presentation? Right, I got. So actually you're helping us segue right into what we're going to go over. We're going to go over that. And I appreciate you sharing. Okay. So setting the appointment is the first step. So of course, so we're lead generating. This is our funnel model over here. We're prospecting and marketing. We capture the leads. They're going into our contacts. We're cultivating them by keeping in touch. And then we set the appointment. And a word here on establishing what leads to work, which leads to work with. So I know some people classify it in letters, or a hot, cold lead. And this just means, is the buyer ready to purchase their home? How ready are they? Where are they in their plan? Again, our time is valuable. So who are we spending time with at this appointment? It's those buyers who want to buy within the next couple of weeks or month or two. And I still keep in touch with the ones who are not ready. They might be a few more months. They need to get ready, maybe financially, maybe they need to sell their home. Maybe they have some other stuff that they have to take care of to be ready to sit down and meet. So I spent some time classifying so I could pace myself accordingly. So however, I don't know if some of you are already tracking how you classify them. And it could be A, B, C, hot, cold, warm. I've actually used colors as well. Red, green, and yellow, kind of like our traffic lights. So red is green. I use this in my, in addition to command, I keep a spreadsheet so I could have a glance at my pipeline. So I just know right away those green highlighted names, putting them into appointments because that means go. Okay, so once we're classifying that we have a buyer or green buyer, someone who's really ready, it's time to close for the appointment. Okay, and at this time, I assume it's going into command and creating an opportunity and managing that appointment that way. So where to do the appointments, the safe go-to option is usually in your office, the market center office, or if you have your own, or a public place where you can have privacy. I have done buyer consults, just our world is changing now and many can't meet live, and sometimes maybe they're even out of town. I do work with some buyers who are not from the area. So I've done Zoom and also phone appointments. Anyone who's doing buyer appointments, where are some places that you meet? Can you share for learning purposes?
With one of my clients is a new construction. We basically met at the lot site. And that was like one times that I did do it outside of the office.
That's cool. So at the actual site, and you were able to converse and
yeah.
Okay. So it just goes to show us, thank you, Katrina, that you could really do this anywhere. You could do this in the public place, in a Starbucks, anywhere. Thank you. Anyone else have other locations? Okay. So, Cassie, most of mine have just been on the phone and Zoom. Okay, great. Yeah, I'm finding that as well, Cassie, that I'm learning to just be very flexible because of, it's sometimes required online. As long as we get, that chance to meet and communicate. So let's get the appointment. Next slide, Kelly, please. Okay, so again, the goal of the buyer consult appointment is the signed buyer agreement. So setting the tone for closing the buyer agreement begins with the invitation. So you can set the expectation for that meeting. I invite you to turn to your elemental script book. You have that in front of you. And I'm going to invite you guys not to be shy, and maybe we can do, I know we're not live, so we can't break up into role play and partners, but can I invite one or two people to read what might be the script or language for a buyer consult appointment, setting that up? Any volunteers? And by the way, I think it's page 13. I have page 13. Do you guys have that? Because my instructor manual says 14 and it's not 14, so I might be off with that. Does everyone know where I'm referring to?
What's that page called again? I mean, is neighborhood insights?
I have page 13, the script, and it looks like that. Scripts for working with buyers. Schedule the buyer consult appointment.
Thank
Is it backwards when I show it like that? Okay, do you have it, Kirk?
Still searching.
Okay.
It's not on 13 for me.
It's 14, thanks, Cassie. Okay, because there was an error. I think my book says 14. Where to point you guys in the right direction, but I have 13. Is anyone able to come off mute and take the first paragraph, buyer called on a property, and just read it out?
Is
I
that
would
price?
do it. I'm just looking for it.
Sure, you take your time, and I don't want to rush. Sorry, you had a question?
Is that pricing objections? Is that the title on page?
The title on the page says scripts for working with buyers. Schedule
Okay.
the buyer consult.
I'm on the wrong page.
Page 13.
There we go. It's page 15 for me.
Oh, it is page. Oh, I didn't realize how this is distributed. I guess it's
Okay, I'm already mute, so I'll go. What do you want me to do? Read the first paragraph?
If you can, I would appreciate that. That's Andrea?
Yeah.
Thank you. Buyer called on a property, ding-a-ling-a-ling.
Sure. The property at 123 Maple Street is listed at 249. Let's schedule an appointment to see if 123 Maple Street is the perfect home for you. Would today at 4 p.m. or Saturday at 10 a.m. be better for you? Great, let's meet at my office. So while we are out, you can also review other properties on the multiple listing service that you might be interested in if Maple Street isn't right for you. Does that work for you?
Sure. Pretend to be the buyer. Awesome. Thank you so much. That's one way to use the script. Obviously, you could tweak it. Let's say you get a buyer referral. Who wants to tackle that? Do you want to give it a go, Kirk?
I apologize. I have everything printed out. I don't see anything.
Oh,
that
okay,
you're talking
right,
about.
okay. No worries, no worries. Okay. Anyone else? Katrina, do you have it? I think you're on. You're muted.
Page 15 in the link that was sent.
If I have 13, so just bear with me, guys, because it's a different page. Is that accurate for anyone else who's using the link?
Okay, so it's
For me,
schedule the buyer consultation appointment.
Schedule
No.
the buyer consultation appointment, and we're up to buyer referral who's willing to talk with you.
I'm looking.
It should be 15.
I have 13.
Yeah, I don't see it. Buyer referral willing to talk.
I think.
Okay, I found it.
Okay.
So I'm going to say, Tiffany, I'd like to invite you to come into my office so we can discuss what you are looking for in your next home and use my MLS to review properties. This way we can search for homes that fit your criteria. When we meet at my office, we can work together to make the most of your time. I can use the tools I have to find the best matches for you and check for any contingencies and other details that would not be apparent from a property visit alone. I don't have my glasses. I gotta move it up. Are weekends or weekdays better for you?
Awesome. Weekdays. Okay, just pretending to be the buyer. Okay, awesome. Okay, so two different ways this can go and just, setting up the appointment. So thanks all for joining in. So our next slide, Kelly, is preparing for the buyer presentation. So some tools that we'll go over to help us present and have conversations about what their wants and needs, etc. So let's go to create the presentation. So we're using the designs in Command, and I think it was another, Cassie, you said you use this in Command? Awesome. Okay, so this is what we're going to go over. The designs in Command is going to provide two different templates for putting together a personalized buyer presentation, and you can pick and choose what you want to put in there. Okay, and by the way, this looks very fancy, and it helps us look very professional, even if we don't yet have the experience. So feel free to take advantage of that. So I'm not going to go in every individual place and how to edit it. For that, I want to invite you to the classes that our market centers offer. So check out our calendar for classes. I know Eileen Angel gives amazing classes in preparing, in training in different aspects in Command. I had used Marty Miller, the 60-day challenge, to learn different aspects of Command. So I invite you to take advantage, look at the calendar, check with your market center for classes on how to go over that. Okay, next slide, thank you. Okay, so each section of the buyer presentation helps us connect with the buyer and build our confidence and our value proposition. Okay, so does anyone have ideas of resources that we can use to help us when we prepare the buyer presentation? So for example, like a resource I might use is I might dip into some MLS market report stats. I'll take some information that I'll learn at a team meeting, for example, and feel free to put into the chat or just, chime in if there's any resources that help you personally for those who are tackling buyer presentations. So these are the things that can help us create and shape our presentation. Okay, so we're going to take a look at each of these things, like your dream home, your preferences, et cetera, et cetera. We're not going to do glossary. So let's take a look at your dream home, their dream home. Okay, so this section is, it again sets the tone. It opens up the conversation about what is it the buyer is looking for. What is their dream home buying experience look like? Okay, you can feel free to, I think it's on page 6, and bear with me if it's different in your book, but here it says page 6, but you can review this page. So let's hear from you guys, please. What are some of the goals for this page in the buyer guide?
To educate the buyers on the process of purchasing a home, just the initial transactions, what takes place And to go back to your question, I usually, depending on the client, if they are really fixated on finding a good school district, I kind of insert that information as well.
Mhm. Right, so resources, the district information, great, right. Okay, I like to hear really what's on their mind. This is an opportunity to really hear what they're thinking and what how to make their home buying just how what they envision for themselves. I know Cassie, you're chiming in. Help to educate yourself on how you can best help them. Every buyer is going to vary. So true. It's really just another form of communicating and getting right down to what their needs are. And I'm just adding on. I see it as a way also to facilitate that and communicate to them. They have this dream and vision of their next home or their first home, whatever the situation may be, and I can play a role in that. I'm an emissary to help them get into that, to fulfill their dreams. So I just would hone in on that and mention that to the buyer because it's such a privilege and honor. So are there any questions you would add? This is just an example right here, what you see in front of you. Is there something you would change or add on this page that would help you personally get to know your client's goals and motivations? Okay, feel free to use the chat if you want to chime in. Okay, so we're up to the next slide. Okay, build your preference profile. Okay, so this next section is what their preferences are. I believe page 8 is where you're going to find it in your manual. Let me just exit this chat. Okay. So what is the goal of the questions on this page? And this is key stuff. I find that this is where communication, well, I'm looking at the right side of how best to contact them. I've had many experiences where, I'm a phone person. I like speaking live. Yet I'll, be working with someone who is just used to answering on text and email. So just it helps me to understand and gauge how to best to communicate with them. So there's no misunderstandings. I don't know if anyone's experienced this where we try to call our client and wonder why are they not picking up their phone? Did they, did something happen? Did they drop us? When really it's just very hard for them to just pick up the phone. Maybe they're working, maybe they just communicate better. So this is where an opportunity when and how to communicate and with whom. Anyone work with couples? And sometimes, with couples, there might be one main person who's, the person to talk to. Working out with a couple where the husband said, just speak to my wife about this. And for certain things, I contact him. So this is where we can actually put together and shape how we're going to communicate and get to know them with these kind of questions. Okay. Now, anyone, once we're jotting all this down, does anyone have a way that they're tracking it? I know I'm a note taker. I mentioned that a couple of slides ago. Anyone else using a different way to track the information that's going to be shared? Okay. So if the note taking is for you, then go for it. With a notebook, that is. If you have a different way, just put it in the chat. Okay, so moving on, our home wish list. So the home wish list section is helpful for us to ask the buyers about their ideal home. We can customize these questions based on the market that we're working with for them, and the information that we already have about them. And it helps us capture really an accurate picture of what is it they're looking for. Does anyone, if those working with buyers, I find that sometimes one tip I help them with in their wish list, they can have many things on their wish list. I like to invite them to kind of narrow down, because many times we're looking for homes and shopping, and if they have 15 must-haves in a home, what are the chances are of us finding that ideal home? The expectations might be very high. So this is an opportunity for us to hone in on what are their must-haves. Must-haves can be about 3 to 5. I mean, I that's what I tell my buyers: narrow down your must-haves to 3 to 5. These are non-negotiable items. And these are some of the questions that can help us help them with what those must-haves. Of course, anything beyond those 3 to 5 are gifts, our wishes come true, of course. Okay, so you can use, let's just see here, we have page, I have your 9 or 11 for you to review and practice. Okay, and then we can move on to specific questions about the neighborhood. That's the next slide, Kelly. Okay, I know someone mentioned that they were talking about school district. Was that you, Katrina? So here's where neighborhood insights are very helpful, where they can find out a lot of their decisions are made on school district. This will be helpful to put together for pricing homes, so that we're not going over their budget, and information about different neighborhoods. So this can help the buyer see and demonstrate how knowledgeable we are in the different neighborhoods they're looking. And it also helps us, look like an expert. So use I don't know if we have time for me to show you in commands, but there is a place to personalize the neighborhood. This is in designs. Is anyone has done this in command? Oh, okay. So Katrina, you want to share how you do it?
So in commands, it's really hard for me to explain, but for this neighborhood insight, I kind of changed the fonts, and it's like you type in the zip code and you highlight what area you want, and then you can just drag it to the location that it's designated for. And yeah, that's how I do it. I kind of change my buyer's guide depending on the buyers.
Right.
Some really aren't gonna really take the time to read the booklet, and then there's some that really take the time. So it all depends. It varies. I give 3 to maybe 5 or 8 pages.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but command is really good to use for this particular. Well, you have to use it, I think, and it makes it look really nice and presentable. But yeah.
Right, because if we had to gather all this information on our own, I would imagine it'd be so challenging.
Yeah.
It just makes it it just brings in the data.
Yeah.
Question for you: do you gauge what kind of buyer? Like you said, there's buyers who love the data; they love that info, and there's some they're just eyes glaze over with too much.
Right, especially if they're up, they live in Middletown and they're familiar with the area. So for those particular buyers that are interested, like I give very little information because they know. So I have a client that's coming from the city. They're not knowledgeable about Middletown or Minnesink or Washingtonville. So I give them a little bit more information. And sometimes I even include like links to maps in their email so that they can take a drive to that area and see if they like this, you know, just the surroundings, the store, the distance, the mall. So yeah,
That's awesome.
it varies depending on, you know, if someone's here for like 8 years, they don't really need a lot.
Right. So you can just, you know, go right to the other important nitty gritty, which is helping them.
Right.
Okay, so you're bringing up a very important point, which is really understanding, you know, where your buyer's coming from and what they would need. So for some, it may apply and some it won't. So thank you for sharing. If you want to know where that is, though, it's the neighborhood snap using designs in command. So that's a quick, you know, explanation where to find it. And if you want help, there's again, there's you can reach out to Eileen or message me. We can direct you. Okay. Okay, moving along to our next slide. How buying a home works. Okay, so a buyer who knows what to expect. They're confident in you as the agent. And it's much easier to work with than a buyer who's maybe anxious or uncomfortable, or they might be mentioning all kinds of objections during the process. So this is another opportunity to explain the process to them. As I said in an earlier slide, like I like to be that person that just can, a resource of every step of how it works and helping them understand what to expect. Now here you might need to explain the difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval. Are you guys familiar with the difference? I know I had to learn that. Anyone want to chime in?
Pre-qualification, I believe, is where the lender is issuing the document based on information provided by the borrower, and the pre-approval is a more thorough vetting.
Yes, thank you, William. Hi. Yes, thanks for that. Pre-qualification is that preliminary evaluation of how much a buyer can afford to borrow. And like you said, it's more detailed. The pre-approval is more involved process, verifying things like the income, employment, etc.
So I do want to add one thing. There are some banks, some lenders who do a thorough vetting, but they're somehow the powers that be decided to use the wording called qualification, and it's unfortunate. Even big banks, there are like Chase does pre-qualification, and they don't use the word pre-approval to hold off from giving the wrong signal. I don't know why, but unfortunate.
So it's important to clarify.
Yeah, as long as it's spelled out in the document what all things were covered before issuing the pre-approval qualification, that should cover.
And it helps us to know the difference. And then, like you said, like look, you know, most buyer, I mean, I'm asking for their pre-approval, as most of us are, or pre-qualification, so that we can point out to the buyer there's a difference and what might be to their advantage to pursue with their mortgage broker in getting a home, especially in this market. Thank you for that. Okay. Ready for the next slide. Okay, so Keller Mortgage. So this is, it should be on page 15 in your manual to preview this Keller Mortgage page. This is an optional thing. I understand Keller Mortgage is in New York. So if you include the Keller Mortgage page, you have to include this disclosure at the end of the document. And of course, you'll need to customize that first line. Okay, so feel free to reach out for more information after the class. The next slide, please. Are you able to get the next slide, Kelly? Okay, so our value proposition, distinguishing ourselves, as we mentioned before, I think most of you have tackled your value proposition, what sets you apart, and practice delivering it. And this is all about you and pitching yourself and selling yourself. Why it's valuable and a wise decision for your buyer to choose only you to work with. And as a new agent, I mean, I remember doing this, borrowing data, since we may not have data, we may not have sales that we've done, but you can use your market center, your team. And as your business grows, it's important to track your successes and include the numbers in your buyer presentations. So if you want to get your market center's numbers, just reach out to your team leader or your market center admin, and they're more than happy to share those numbers, and feel free to use them. There's strength in numbers of their team. Okay. Okay, so now we're doing the buyer consults. Okay, so you've done your buyer presentation. You've put all that wonderful information together that we just reviewed. Print it, email it, and then you have your system for taking notes. And now we can move on to some scripts on how to welcome the buyer. Okay, next slide. Thank you. Okay. So again, welcoming them, setting the expectations for the appointment. I invite you to turn to page. Now we're mixed up with the pages, so I'm just gonna, I don't know what it comes up for you. I'm up to page 14. What do you have for what do you have for page 14? Just so I know that we're all on the same page.
How buying a home works.
Okay, so I don't have. Actually, I have page 13. Pardon me. Welcome to the buyer presentation. I know the numbers are off, so if you're using it digitally, it might be the page after. If one of you is using it digitally, then just type it in. I have page 13. Does anyone want to start off? This is when we're sitting with our buyer and it's setting the expectations. This is just an example of how to do so with a paragraph or two. Anyone want to read? Well, does everyone have that, what I see? Welcome to the buyer presentation in the script booklet. Do you want to give it a go, Kirk? Do you see where we are?
No,
Okay.
it's, I don't know. I mean, I printed, there's like 23.
I know it gets very confusing and daunting with the pages, so I totally feel where you're coming from. Oh, you say page 13. So it is page 13. Okay, so it's page 13 in the script. The script. Oh. Anyone have it that want to give it a go? It's not in the workbook, right, Cassie?
I
Does that
just
help you?
posted the script book in the chat. So if you want to go ahead and open that, and you can easily have access to page 13.
Okay. You want to give it a go, Katrina?
Oh, okay. I'll just do it. What page is it?
Andrea, thank you. Page 13 in the script book.
What are we doing? Welcome to the buyer presentation.
Exactly, those 2 paragraphs.
All right. Yes. Buyer name. Thank you for letting me help you. My goal is to give you a 10+ customer experience. To do that, I like to get a clear idea on what you are looking for in your new home. So with your permission, I'd like to spend the next 20 to 30 minutes exploring what the right home for you will be like. We'll call this your 10+ home. With your permission, I'd like to write notes as we go along so I can remember everything that's important to you. It may seem like a lot, but I'd rather ask you 500 questions now and show you the right 5 homes than to ask you 5 questions and waste your time showing you the wrong 500 homes. Does that work for you?
Yes,
Perfect.
thank you so much. So why do you guys feel this is important to have, setting the expectations?
It's literally what she said. It's saving time. You want to get all the information that you can to avoid wasting time. You don't want to start going out and showing the wrong types of properties, because then they're not going to want to work with you. You're wasting their time. You're wasting your own time. It works out better for everybody.
Totally. And if you ever work with like that impatient buyer, you get together and meet, and then you think you're running out to go see houses. It really sets the tone. Like you said, our time is valuable and precious. We don't want to, and their time is also, and many, their head could be all over the place. We're all human. They need us to take the initiative and lead them to a good outcome, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, let's move on to buyer representation agreement. So closing the buyer consultation. Anyone else feel this is a bit daunting, or we're asking for the big stuff now for their signature to hire us? I know for me that in the beginning feels a little uncomfortable, even now. But this is the whole goal of meeting. This is what formalizes our working relationship, detailing all the services we're going to provide and the length of time that we're going to be in our business relationship. And it also, again, like we said, protects us from spending time with a buyer who ultimately will go to someone else, God forbid. So back to scripts. There's power in the script. Just want to take a moment to mention, because I know when we do this live, we do spend a lot more time practicing scripts. Because it's virtual, we're doing that. I'm calling on people to read out. But I highly encourage all of you, if you're not already doing it, just practice scripts. I myself have a script partner, and I'm part of also a mastermind where we exchange objections and practice, different segments of different scripts for different purposes. Anyone else doing the same? Script partner, script practice. Let's celebrate. Put it in the chat. Shout out. And while you're doing that, let's go to page 14. And can someone new, I invite you not to be shy. We're all here learning together. Can someone new tackle that first closing for the agreement for exclusivity?
I'll try it.
Thank you. Who's that, Kirk?
Yes.
Yeah, you found it. Okay, you have the page?
Well, I found it because, it was in chat. So thank you very much for that.
Okay, my honor. Do you want to do the ask for the business part?
Oh, I thought you was talking about closing the buyer representation agreement or,
Oh, okay, so I'm on page 14, ask for the business. Close for agreement exclusivity is the top big letters over here. I can show you how it looks on my end.
On the PDF that was downloaded, it's on page 16.
There you go. Thank you, William. Again, it's messed up because I printed it out and it's different.
just tell me, is it on the agreement 1 or 2?
It's neither. It's heading should say close for agreement exclusivity. You want me to read it?
Well, just one second, Kirk, are you in
Yeah, I'm looking at the scripts.
are you in the script book or the student manual? I'm not sure what it's called.
Script book?
You're in the script book.
Yeah, and you're saying, you just want me to read where it says ask for the business?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay,
Paragraph, and I'll call on William. Yeah, thanks.
okay. All I ask in exchange for my superior customer service promise is that you agree to work with me exclusively. Does that sound fair? Okay, we can sign and shake on that. Provide the buyer with a buyer representation agreement, explain it and have them sign it, then shake hands.
All right. Thank you. So that's one way to do it. Thank you so much, Kirk. William, you want to do the closing the buyer representation agreement number 1?
What we're going to do now is sign the buyer representation agreement, which puts me to work for you. You're giving me the tool I need to represent you in your purchase. With this tool, I have the opportunity to negotiate for you and get you the best deal. And getting the best deal is important to you, isn't it? Perfect. Then let's do the right thing. Sign the buyer representation agreement and put me to work for you.
Awesome. Great. And who'd like to do the closing the buyer representations agreement number 2, another version? Carmen, Lisa, do you want to give it a go? Monique. Oh, Teresa, want to give it a go? Please, guys, would pardon me putting you on the spot.
Sorry, I've been kind of like distracted, so I'm not really sure where we were at, and I'm just trying to listen in.
Okay. Do you want me to tell you where we're at, or you prefer to continue to listen?
I would like to just listen because it's going to take me a while to find where you're at.
Sure, no problem. Okay. Andrew, do you want to give it another go?
Okay. Where?
Page 14.
Okay, closing agreement part 2.
Yes.
Okay. Can you see how it benefit you to have a professional looking out for your best interest as you search for the best home and negotiate to get the best deal? That's a lot of best. Great. This form allows me to represent you and look out for your best interest. Here's how we take care of that. You just need to okay this agreement right here. Bam.
Awesome. Awesome, great.
I like the other one better.
Yeah, feel free to pick and choose. And what I find I do is I might like a certain couple of sentences, but like you said, there's a lot of bests going on over here, but I'll tweak it. And then I just put it into practice and I find which one makes the most sense.
Yeah, maybe even like merge a few of them together and then just go from there.
And again, the more you do it, you kind of get it down pat of the key elements you want to bring out and convey to the buyer, which is basically, in here in a nutshell, it's in their best interest to have me get started working for them. And I can get started as soon as it's signed. Okay, anyone having success with getting a signed exclusive buyer agreement? And we want to share.
One, and now I'm feeling like I should.
Meaning that you're working with buyers, but you haven't implemented this part?
All my buyers, I've never had them sign an exclusive agreement. I just have them do like the agent disclosure and then we go from there. But now I'm like, maybe I should start using this and have them sign this.
Mhm. Well, has it been working for you without them signing? Like, did you?
Yeah, I
find-
haven't had any issues so far,
Mhm.
but it seems more professional and I like, it's like a little cherry on top. So I'm liking how it sounds and I'm thinking I might want to try to implement this.
Okay, cool. So that's a good something to implement. And I get it because I believe I started off with understanding this made sense and aiming to implement it. I did come across buyers who didn't want to sign. They're afraid to sign. They're afraid to be committed. And then I went through that experience of wasting some time working with buyers for several weeks, sometimes months, and then finding out that they went into contract with another agent. So that's, as I got busier, I recognize again, it's just, I have so much to bring to the table and help people. I can't spend time with buyers who won't sign. And I'm coming into a place in my business now where I'm implementing them again. And again, explaining the value. And it's a bit, I wouldn't say scary. It was hard. It's hard for me, but it's letting go of that buyer who won't do it. Anyone can commiserate?
But sometimes you have to, because essentially you might be saving yourself a lot more time and trouble by letting them go versus trying to hold on to them for whatever little commission, you know what I mean?
Exactly. We have to get, we need to get paid, and we're all working for our why, whatever that may be. For me, it's my family, and it's time away from my family, and I can't, I can't do that. So, that part about just being okay to let them go, that we might not be the agent for them if there is, if I can't be hired this way. So that resonates great. So thank you for all who participated in the reading out. I know this is a unique way that we're doing it since we can't divide up into script practice. Okay, I know there's some comments. Oh, more script pages. Thank you, Kelly. Okay, so moving to the next slide. Share your KW app. Okay, so does everyone use their app or have their app downloaded? It's okay if you don't. There's ways how to find it on your actually. So refer after the class on how to download it, because I forgot where to get it unless someone here knows offhand. But this is another way to, again, bring value to the buyer, bring value to yourself with letting them know that one way to help them is through the app. You can share it with on your phone, and this gives them options of how they can save properties that they like and have an eye on, and you can track what they see. It's also branding yourself, and they can also share it with others. Anyone implementing using the app and finding that helpful?
I share it all the time. It's really great. It's a cool tool. And I love that you can see exactly what they're looking at. You can see how many times they looked at it. And so I can be proactive and reach out to you. Hey, I saw you looking at this, or I found a place that I think would be perfect for you. And they're like, oh my God, I was just looking at that. So it's really, really a cool tool, and it works tremendously.
Awesome, thank you. It's kind of in a cool, freaky way. We're watching what they're seeing.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
it's like we're on top of it.
I always tell people to download it, do your search, and then I just start stalking them immediately to see what they're doing.
Okay. William, I know you asked where to download it from. Well, I did it from, I must have done it because I did it a while back. I must have done it, and I have an iPhone through the App Store. And there may be a way to do it from the website too. Okay, if anyone needs more.
Yeah.
help.
If you go to your website or you have them go to your website, there is a link there that'll tell them to download your app or to go to your app. It's on the bottom of your page. It's on all of our pages. And then you can also get it from the App Store. But with that link, you can take that link and you can share it to everybody else to download your app. It has the pre-written message already with your name and everything in it. So it's really good. Right on your website.
Okay, I hope that helps. Thank you. And I know Cassie's writing that it's great, comes so much in handy, especially when they look at things at night and you can set into them first thing in the morning. So it really sets you apart. And also, a lot of my clients, and I'm sure yours too, I mean, almost everyone, they're using other apps. They might be using the Zillow app. Why shouldn't they be using our branded app with our name emblazoned on the front page? It's really cool. So thank you for that. So let's move on to collections and saved homes. So here I'll refer you to, again, going on to command, creating collections. You can do that on your KW site. You can do that on your app. And this can help you keep informed of the whole process and the buyer needs. Okay. Moving on to the next, align your guide. So in command, you have the ability to customize a buyer guide while they're in the process of shopping for their home. And you can add or remove steps and edit the information within them and personalize, take out some steps. You can use the templates that are there. They offer you like standard stuff, like here you see start your search. There's another tab right underneath that, get pre-approved, but you can switch up the order. You can make something personalized. It walks your clients through the process, tracking where they're up to. Again, it makes you look awesome because you stand out and you look so fancy and having expertise with having this process. So if you need to know where that is, just a quick, again, there's more classes that delve in deeper, but you're logging into command. In command, there's a consumer icon on the left side of the page. And then there's a tab on top that's right here that says guide, guide builder tab. And then there's a icon that says edit. And then you can change these or add. Okay. Is anyone using this and has it been effective? Or how has it helped? Just feel free to chime in or put it in the chat. Okay, so now at this point, based on what you heard so far, can I hear from some of you? What are some things that you came away with that was that light bulb going off that, hey, I'd like to implement this, or what you'd like to put into practice? I know since I want to learn from this as much as I'm sharing, I don't think I give out the app enough. And Andrea, you're helping me understand. It is such a valuable tool. I have given it out. I guess I go rush into helping, but you know, it's really helpful. So I want to implement that. That's what I'm sharing.
I want to try and present this agreement to my next buyer and have them sign and move forward.
Awesome. Good for you. I'd love to hear the results of that.
I'll keep you posted.
I think Shifra froze for a second here. We're just gonna wait for her to come back on. Does anyone have any ahas or anything they'd like to share? I know, William, you said you're going to incorporate using the app more into your auto signature.
Hey guys, I'm so sorry. Is everyone here? I'm in my market center, and the tab came up that there's a weak connection, and then the next thing I know is I'm gone. So I'm sorry. Bearing with technology. So I'm actually signed in on my phone's hotspot. Okay. So where were we? Okay, recap and ahas. So I think we can go on to the next slide. Okay, so feel free to jot down what you want to implement. Again, our goal together, our goal of our time together is to help us think, feel, act, and use what we've learned to just ignite our passion, our skills, and help us achieve what we want out of our real estate business. So feel free to look. I believe there's a section in your participant guide, and you can jot down your own ahas. How has your thinking changed? What ideas or mindsets are new? What do you feel differently about? What was meaningful to you today? How will your behaviors be different going forward? What actions you want to take, etc. What tools, models, or systems will you definitely use, and how will they make you accountable? Okay. And if anyone wants to share, just stop me. I love the interaction if you can. I know some people can't interact, but if you can, it's so helpful. Okay, daily success habits. So we're reviewing the daily success habits, which we don't have time now to tackle, but feel free after or at your leisure. That script practice, we touched on that a few times today, and I think even someone posted in the group that they would love a script partner. Was that you, Andrea? Yes. So feel free to use if you guys are all connected and know each other, or reaching out, but if you guys want to team up, I highly recommend it. It's so helpful. Lead generation, always the key to always keep communication, talk to people, and update your contacts and follow up. And it says contract practice, but we don't do contracts here in New York. So we'll skip that part. So moving on to the next slide. The goal is to set your career on fire. So 10 contacts added every day, 10 conversations a day, real estate conversations, 10 handwritten notes, 10 home previews per week. Is anyone tackling this? Is anyone having any success with it? Anyone having an area of struggle?
working on the contact, starting my golden letters this week. So I think that that's a part of that, right? Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. I actually did do that recently. I sent out a letter and I got a lead, and it was a homeowner who was thinking of selling, and he told me that that was quite unique. He never saw that letter. He's getting tons of other spam and people contacting him, and he thought that
Right.
was unique. So
So
go
did
for
you
it.
handwrite it? Did you handwrite it or did you use the template?
I used a template. I didn't have
Okay.
time to write it. Borrowed a version that I got maybe in a coaching class, and
Right. Okay.
I just, like, let me try it and see what happens. Anyway, I have, that lead was a seller. He wants me to contact him at the end of the month. He's a bit busy, but I'm gonna cultivate that. So
Okay, cool.
I was quite surprised. So go for it. And I know for me, like, I'm looking, I mean, my goal, I'd love to have 10 conversations a day. Sometimes I have and sometimes I don't, but one of my goals is tracking. And I've been doing my own tracking for now on my phone, just pulling up. I keep notes, and every person I meet, like, I'll go out to an event, I'll go to PTA, I don't know, and so I'm just in my phone, I'm putting in all the conversations I have. So I have intentions. I'm just sharing something that I'm aiming to implement. I don't know if I get to 10 every day, but at least I have that. For me, I have that goal. Like, it's about having a conversation, and it could be anyone, someone in the grocery. Anyone else have shares? And don't forget to, in Command, tracking your database health. In Command, you have, it'll give you a score of how healthy your database is. So the goal is to have it over 50%. If you don't know your number, just take a piece of what your database health looks like. Okay, next slide. Okay, back to scripts. We generate, as we spoke about, uncover motivations from the people we're talking to. It gives us an opportunity also to identify objections, and practice makes perfect on that. Close deals, speaking in terms that customers understand, and build confidence. I think that's pretty key about the building of the confidence, at least for myself. Coming from having, no business in the beginning when I started out, and then picking up and seeing me achieve the goals, I see that confidence is so important, and I'm constantly looking to build that. So I can relate if that's what everyone else is tackling as well. Okay, and role play script practice. So we, again, don't have that time to do the role play, but I invite you all to pick a script. Is there a script that you guys have seen in the script book that talks to you? You can just tell me what's something that you guys have a goal that you want to implement or tackle. It can be any script.
To be quite honest, I'm so new. I just finished my second shadowing Saturday. So everything we're talking about, I mean, pretty much is all an aha for me. So it's everything's I'm going to try to remember and use.
Oh, well, kudos to you, Kirk. And I can just say I remember learning in the beginning, like, it was just like, whoa, there's a ton of information. I don't know if that feels like that. And it's like, where do I start? What do I do? There's so much to learn, and how am I ever going to do that? And that feeling of overwhelm. So I totally get it and identify what worked best for me, and you can feel free to take this or not. I would just pick maybe 2 or 3 items, and sometimes 3 might even be too much, just that you're going to tackle, whether it's exploring it, learning it, asking someone for help in that area. Don't do everything. I think I'm the queen of overwhelm. Sometimes I get overwhelmed. That's my work I'm doing on self-development. But I find if I just focus on just a couple items, not everything, and maybe it's even only one, and then just work on that. So maybe it's scripts, maybe it's something else. So that's for you to decide. I hope that's helpful. I know that helps me. Okay, what's next? Compliance. Okay, so we have our do not call compliance being enforced, which basically means we just can't call everyone. We have to subscribe to the registry, update our call list regularly to be careful not to call those who are on the do not call list. Know your state, federal laws, check before you call, and honor the consumer's requests. Okay. And we're still we're still not allowed to cold calls yet, if I'm not mistaken. So important to keep that in mind. Basically, who we can target. There's plenty of people in our sphere of influence or referrals, and these we have. The sky is the limit. You have to have these conversations with people. Hey. Okay, calling with scripts or lead generating. So again, I invite you guys to set aside time for yourselves. Sometimes it's helpful to have a partner or do it in groups, small or large, where you can set aside time to call together, separate but together, if you know what I mean. I remember when I got started, we met in the market center, a few of us. We each had our own little spot and made phone calls. And I was nervous and I didn't like it. It's uncomfortable. Sometimes it still is uncomfortable. It got better though, but I would make my phone calls and someone, next to me was doing it, and it just empowered each other. So if that works, I think it's a great tool, and I invite you to, make a meetup and do it together. It's a great idea. Okay, anything, what's the update, contacts, and follow up? Okay, everyone knows how to add contacts to command? Okay, great. So that's one way to, again, if they're not in, I find it so helpful because I want to know who I'm following up with. So I'm getting, and I have tons of information in my phone. I don't know about you guys, but I'll put them in my phone and then have to put them into command. So it is a task to set aside time to do that. And if you don't, there's helpful classes on how to set that up. I like the notes part because I do track everything about the follow-up. Anyone else doing that? Where you'll get notes about, their family or motivations, etc. So tracking that is so helpful. Okay, contract practice, which we don't do in New York. And what's next? Okay, and again, Keller Williams has so many available options to help us. So there's command for any help. There's we can use Connect, Keller Williams University, chatting with support. There's a site ideas.kw.com that's helpful. And of course, again, reach out to the market center for classes or the classes that we run through all the market centers. Okay. Many ways to connect. Okay, make your success list. Okay, so here's an opportunity for all of us to put our to-do list together. Take a few minutes to create a list of tasks that you want to complete related to the Ignite class we just had. And after you have your list, feel free to put next to each item like an X or a little marker if this is a to do or should do. Okay, then you can prioritize which one by putting a number next to it. Has anyone implemented this or done this before? Can anyone see how this can be? Pardon?
Is this something like a 411 or something or like that?
I believe it's the daily 10-4.
Okay, that's it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. And feel free to do this on, at your time, at your leisure. And again, if anyone wants to share what their priority is or what they're going to be implementing, feel free to do so. Any questions, comments, questions, suggestions about what we discussed?